Before we get started with this meeting, this is a noticed public meeting, and as commissioners, we're obligated to let everybody know that if we have a conflict or potential conflict of interest, we need to disclose that right now. So as a property owner and resident of Josephine County, I'm here declaring that I may have a potential conflict of interest with the subject matter that we're discussing here today.
Yes.
I also am a citizen of Josephine County and might possibly have a conflict of interest.
And another disclosure, I also own property and live in Josephine County. I might have a conflict of interest as well. So, just putting that out there.
All right, just like you, we're concerned about our property rights, and that's what we're here for today. So again, a hearty welcome to everybody. I'm actually I shouldn't say very surprised, but I'm very grateful of the turnout that we have here tonight. This is a big deal, as you all know. This has been in the making for quite some time. And so moving forward, we have Commissioner Smith. He's the one that's spearheading this issue, this challenge that we have right now before us. And I want to turn over the mic to him right now.
I want to thank you all for coming tonight. Obviously, this is an issue of concern for all of us here. It is for your county. This county is going to fight it along with Jackson County as hard as we can. We're going to do everything we can to protect your property. That's part of the reason we're having this meeting. So we're going to go through this meeting. Tonight, we're going to go with a PowerPoint presentation. And we're going to show you how we're going to take this law apart page by page. Okay? Then we're going to, I hope you all got your paperwork before we ran out. We really didn't expect to have 1,000 people here. But I think
Why? Why?
I expected more.
There's 4 million people in this state. Why wouldn't
I'll tell
you get
what my
1,000?
goal of this evening is. My goal is to get 20 or 30,000 people upset enough to take action.
Yes.
That's what it's going to take.
Yes. Yep.
A couple commissioners up here isn't going to do it. I'm looking out here and I'm seeing the answer right here. It's you guys. You guys are the answer to this problem. So I had a list of names and numbers back there. I want you to bring their phones off the hook. And I have their emails, flood their emails. I've learned a long time ago. Politicians understand one thing.
Numbers.
Numbers. It's either numbers of dollars and cents or it's numbers of people. It's obvious we have a start here, but this is just a start. So we're going to have, this is just one meeting. You can't solve this problem with one meeting. So we're going to have another meeting. And I'd like to ask you all, I'm seeing how it's late and all of us a little older than youngsters. Would you prefer to have a weekend meeting or another weeknight meeting? So who would like to see a weekend meeting?
Both.
So everybody wants to do it at the weeknight?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes.
We'll do that. I'll get you a date on this. I hope you sign some paper back there so I have some contact information so we can reach out to you. This will be noticed again on the county webpage and all over Facebook and next door. And it'll probably be on the Bill Maher Show. How many of you heard about this on the Bill Maher Show? Thank God for Bill, huh? So I'm going to have Commissioner Barnett come up. He's a real estate broker. I want him to talk a little bit how this is affecting the real estate market. And also, we all know this is affecting our insurances, right? How many people had their insurance go up? Senate Bill 762 did that to you. How many had your power bills go up? 762 did that to you. We need to undo 762. Get rid of it.
Amen.
I had a web page because I was fighting this issue before I was a commissioner. I have a web page. I'm going to revive that web page. That web page is called Undo 762. So look for it, search for it. I'll revive that. We'll take some of that paperwork that's on the table and make it downloadable for you. That'll keep you up to date on what's happening with this issue. You'll be able to find the meetings there. So I'll call my webmaster tomorrow and get that thing up and running. So it's undo762.com. Remember that, not hard to remember, huh? So I'm gonna let Commissioner Barnett talk about real estate a little bit.
Let's hear it for Ron for putting this together over here.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And us commissioners are working really hard. We're into week number 4, going into week number 4. And this is a big topic. This is a huge, huge topic. So we'll want to address it. This is the biggest crowd I've ever seen in this building. So thanks to you guys for showing up. So thank you, honestly. And it's because of you guys why we're here. A lot of questions came up real quick before I talk about the real estate values and stuff like that. This will be rebroadcast. There is no live stream, but they are doing a video on it. Mike Jones, I think, somewhere you're back there. Mike, raise your hand. Thank you very much. And yeah, thank you. And Eli from the Oregon Great. So they're going to repost this so you guys can watch it or have people that couldn't attend tonight. So, how many people got a letter or something in the mail? Just about all of you guys, right? That's why we're here, including myself. I live in the Redwood Avenue on pasture, and I'm like, I'm not in a forest area. What are you talking about? And I'm high risk. And I know you guys are upset when you guys got those letters, and that's why we're all here. We're fired up because we want to attack this wildfire hazard map and how it's going to affect real estate values. Let me tell you, last year I had a property and we got it under contract. We could not sell that house because the insurance, nobody would insure the new buyer. Nobody would insure the new buyer. He finally found a high-risk insurance company paying $1,500 a month.
Oh my God.
And I'm not kidding you, that's my first encounter. It was just late last year, and I'm like, well, this is something that's going to keep coming up. And then I found another one. Insurance, they don't want to insure me. All the big carriers that you know, the big ones, right? Geico and Progressive and all that. Nope, we don't do that. What are you talking about? They're almost setting us up for failure, saying that we are going to be on fire this year or to come. All right, that's what they're doing. And we have had the Association of Counties, Herman Berchegger, our last commissioner, we did a forum at the Ambassador. We loudly spoke. Josephine County does not want this and redo this fire hazard map. And it went nowhere. We all spoke. You guys were there in that room, a lot of you guys. We've done another forum here. Ron, we did that, 3 years ago? Something like that? He invited me in here too. We talked about it. I don't want your real estate values to go down. That's what's going to happen. Real estate values are going to go down, and we're not going to be able to get insurance, fire insurance. We're not going to get it. And I know you guys are scared out of your wit on that. So I just want to let you guys know, we're going to try to ease your minds tonight. I'm scared too. I'm in the same bucket as you guys. So we're all here to try to talk about what's going on. Bob Hart is going to speak. He spoke to us at a meeting the other day, and he's very informative on this subject. But I know the biggest question you guys have is, what can we do? We're here, we're listening, but what's the action result out of this? So Mr. Hart is going to address that as well. So I just want to tell you, we are all concerned about this. Real estate values, it affects all you guys, every single property owner in this room. So with that, I'm just keeping mine short and sweet. We're going to attack it, and I'll give it back to Ron Smith. But thank you guys for coming. And questions, are we doing questions at the end? Is that what we're doing? All right.
This is horrible legislation. Horrible. Pushed by one senator and one representative. Jeff Golden out of Ashland and Pam Marsh out of Ashland. If you can, make their phones ring off the hook and melt down, please.
Can you come to the meeting he's having in 2 weeks? I'm dead serious.
Yeah, well,
You're a politician, he's a politician. You can speak politician to him. Otherwise, we can just speak redneck and get pissed
So
off.
we're going to have a question and answer period at the end of this. Will you hold your questions till that time? I know you probably have a lot of questions. The other thing I want you to do, when you got a question, I don't want a long statement or some great monologue or some other issue. Let's keep this straight on the wildfire hazard map. Ask your questions, point it to that, and everybody we're gonna send a mic around the room so we can hear your questions. But don't get up there and make a great big speech. This is time to answer questions and get your answers. I'm gonna turn this meeting over to a guy I really respect. He has a lot of knowledge. 20 years, a county planner right here in Josephine County. He's retired now, has his own consulting business. But Bob Hart is one excellent researcher. He's torn this bill completely apart, and he's gonna run through a PowerPoint presentation here. You're gonna learn all about this legislation. And I get back up here and try to fire the crowd up here. Bob, you wanna step up to the plate, show these people what this law looks like?
Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Mic's not on. Nope, not on.
That little nerd. Yeah.
We'll try it again.
Yay.
This is working better than county government ever has. Yeah, as Ron said, I was a county planner for 20 years. Now, I was a county planner for 20 years, saw the light, and became a consultant to try and help people get through the process. So I've worked both sides of the counter. I know how it happens, how things work, how they get administered, and some things, for one reason or another, start out as a good idea and then turn to something nobody envisioned or wanted. And this wildfire legislation is one of those. Because everybody that I know is concerned about fire here in Southern Oregon. We saw that with the Alameda fire. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is this map and this program would have done nothing to stop the Alameda fire.
Amen.
Won't stop any fire anywhere.
So we're trying to see what we can do to affect this. When the map was first released in 2022, they were first going to come to Grants Pass, and apparently State Forestry said we had threats to our life and they canceled the meeting. The meeting that was supposed to be held in Medford, they turned to a Zoom meeting, so they didn't have to come before the people. We had over 2,000 people on that Zoom meeting, and as a result of the far cry from the people, the map was withdrawn. And I think that's my goal at this point, is to take this new map and do the same thing.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know how many people understand all the details. I'll try and do a quick review so people know what's going on or how this thing happened. It started with SB 762. It was adopted in the 2021 legislative session, right in the middle of COVID. They had locked down the doors of the state capitol. Nobody could go testify. It kind of went in under the radar. When it was withdrawn, they said, we'll make course corrections, we've heard you. With that, they started with SB 80 and SB 82. Here's the draft map. As you can see, Southern Oregon is one of the prime areas down here with the red. It's probably the most impacted counties in the whole state. The three biggest ones are Josephine, Jackson, and Hood River. (762) was adopted in 2021, and they required what they called at that time a risk map, and they had 5 categories: low, medium, high, and extreme, and no impact. Then they went to add where do the people live, where are the people most affected, and they looked at another process that the federal government put together, and it's called the Wildland Urban Interface. And that's when you have more than one house per 40 acres. So they said if you have a house within that kind of density and have a high fire risk, then you're going to be in one of these zones. They prepared a map by the Oregon State University and the Oregon Department of Forestry. Part of the program, they required mandatory defensible space. That is mandatory, that you have to modify your vegetation, you will be inspected, and it is in the statute that they could start a fining violation process and put a lien against your property and confiscate it. This is their proposal, is that you keep all vegetation away from power lines by 10 feet, vegetation away from houses by 10 feet, 10 feet between trees, and that you have to limb up the trees so you cannot have what they call ladder fuels, where it starts in the grass, gets into the lower branches, and then crowns. So they said, we need a space. And how big is that space? The 10 feet is adjacent to structures, but it's 50 feet in all directions away from the structures that you have to clear the trees and move them. Another part was what they call the building code requirements, where they are changing the state codes as they apply to your structures. And what happens is, if you replace your roof or a portion of your roof, the whole roof has to be modified to meet new standards for fire resistance. Gutters cannot be flammable. Exterior siding, if you're having to change your property, T111 is not one of those fire resistant types of materials. So soffits, they're trying to keep embers from going into the attics and starting that on fire. So they have a whole list of things that need to be done. The average 1,200 square foot house, if it's new construction, it could be increased by over $5,000 just to meet these new standards. So how did this happen that people learned about this? They sent a letter to everybody that's in a high and extreme rating. They canceled the meetings, as I said. Objections were submitted, the map was withdrawn, and a lot of people were concerned about insurance rates. So here's where things supposedly changed. They started with SB 80. That was in the 2023 session. They changed risk to hazard. Change without a distinction. Risk and hazard is the same basic map. They reduced the zones to 3, where they combined the high and the extreme, but the rules applied to both of them beforehand, and they apply now. One of the most insidious things I think they did is they said if you wanted to appeal it, say, I don't agree with what you've done, I want to appeal and have you relook at my property. They changed it to a contested case, which puts it into a very legalistic system. A lot of people think they need an attorney, and in some places you do. The way they wrote the law of contested case, if you're other than a personal property owner, if you have property in an LLC or a corporation or even a family trust, you are required by law to have an attorney represent you. So to try and convince everybody that this was the right way to go, they said, we will have a very robust interchange with the people and find out what they have to say before we finalize the map. They had regional open houses. I went to the one in Medford. They talk for about 7 minutes and give a very broad overbrush, and they say, now go around and talk to the different agencies. They never answered the questions or talked to the people. It was all a dog and pony show. The other things they did is they did make a few adjustments for irrigated agricultural lands. Mainly that applied up north. There's a few places out around White City where it's irrigated, and they took it out of the high fire danger area. But it didn't apply to everybody, because it says it has to be agricultural. So if you have irrigated lawn, garden, if it's not a commercial garden, that was ignored. That didn't change anything at all. They changed a few isolated hazard areas because the way the map was put together, it was all by computer. Nothing was verified on the ground, and so they put all these factors into a computer, and whatever popped out, popped out. So you have high and low side by side. It just made no sense. So right now, where things are, the final map was published January 7th of this year. An appeal period started. It's 60 days. It ends on a Saturday, March 8th. Now, they say, well, it's on a weekend, so we'll take it till Monday. I don't trust them. If you're going to file an appeal, make sure you have it by that Friday, March 7th, to be within their 60-day time frame. The letter that they sent to everybody was a packet of information to try and explain what needs to be done. They didn't give you any details other than they quoted the laws, gave you some handouts. They had an introductory cover letter, an application law statement of which code provisions apply, and then they had a bunch of propaganda from the state agency saying, here's what we're doing, if you have questions, call us. They put the burden all on us to try and prove them wrong. They gave you appeal instructions and an appeal form. Sorry that you didn't get one. The way they have explained it is only those people that are within a wildland urban interface and in high got a letter. It's about 15 pages, and it was certified so they can keep track of who they sent it to. The appeal form is 1 page, and some of it is check a box. The hazard value or wildland urban interface assignment is not consistent with adopted rules, or the criteria of the map wasn't applied correctly. The way these types of things work is if you don't raise an issue in an appeal, then you can't go any further and you can't bring it up again. So you need to, if you're going to appeal to try and get out of this whole program, you need to address all the issues first time through. To try and get some of the background information, they have what they call the Wildland Explorer, where it's the map that's required by state law. You enter your address in, it'll create a report, and it's a 1 page, and it's about your property, and then it has links and text about the program. Here's what the new map looks like. Here's what their page looks like. They changed the colors a little bit, but if you look, there's not much difference between the original map and this one. So it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. I used my property here as an example, to where there's a little button on the page. After you put your address in, it will zoom into your property, and then you print out a report. This is the report. It's basically a one-page report, and like I said, then they've got a lot of propaganda behind it. And on this report, it says, here is a high fire risk value. It's just a number that's not related to anything. Mine is 1.579675. And I go, what does that mean? And they won't tell you. They say, well, we ran a bunch of analysis through the computer, and this is the number we came up with, and it's assigned to your property.
So how much lithium's under your land?
Yeah. I've figured out, I live halfway between Rogue River and Weimar. I'm an overachiever. Here I am in Southern Oregon, and I'm in the top 0.5% of the fire hazard in the state of Oregon. These things are just kind of, we used to call it PFA, pluck from air. They just draw it out of the area. Here's one of the overlays that they have. They have a few on their website, but they don't have them all. This one is burn probability. What's the possible fires coming into your area in any given year? So here is the probability. This is the Evans Creek Valley out toward Evans Creek. This is the only thing that has a number on the whole site, and it's at 0.005 something or other. The way it used to be is you would stack one thing on top of the other, because the four factors that are supposed to go into this is climate, weather, topography, and vegetation. But they don't tell you what the numbers are assigned to each one except for probability. So let's get into the appeals. That's where the rubber meets the road on this thing. And some people are saying, well, what good is it for me to appeal? Well, when we had the onslaught last time they brought out the map, they finally withdrew it because of the hue and cry of the people. We need to do that again, where you're going to have a program that's put on your back when the biggest part of it that we all know is the federal forest land that's been mismanaged for decades.
Amen.
They'll come up with reasons to say, oh no, that's not the case. It's because of climate change. Well, I don't know how long those people have been living around here, but we didn't have those kind of fires, and we didn't have these kind of problems till we had the spotted owl, and they kicked everybody out of the woods.
Isn't that right? Absolutely.
So here's the appeals. It's called a contested case. It's in ORS 183, and you can have all these fancy numbers to go through. And the reason I called this one up and I highlighted this, because some people said, I don't need an attorney. This is where it says, if you have a trust and you want to appeal, you must have an attorney. This was written by attorneys out of the Department of Justice. I guess the feds aren't the only one that have Department of Justice that are going after the people.
Right.
Here's the form for an appeal. It's designed so it cannot be based on what you've done to your property. So if you go out and cut every tree, tear your house down and pave it, you can still be in the WUI in the high fire danger area. There's no rhyme or reason to this, but what they're saying, and there is some reasoning behind it, is if a fire is headed your way, the embers can travel up to 1.5 miles and keep that fire going. So what your neighbors do to their property really does affect you to some extent. But there's nothing in the code that allows for anything to change that. So even if you get you and your neighbors to band together and clear out all the brush and everything, it's still not going to change the map. That's why we have to defeat the map. You're limited to appeal the creation and the methodology of the map. That's all you can do. So I looked through it, tried to figure out how to unpack it. And one of the things that it says is they're going to provide opportunities for public input to the assignment of properties to the wildfire hazard zones. Okay, how do we have this public input? The department has to give notice about the property, how it's been assigned, and the effects on the property. There's just so much going through my head with this whole thing, because the original bill is 20 pages, and they keep coming out with these big things year after year. Every time the legislature goes into session, it's a problem. Some of these things make a lot of sense to me, but I don't know that it's really going to help you. We'll get to helping you in a minute. The reason I brought up this slide is this little rectangle there is my property. And the yellow in there is what they call high flame length based on the vegetation. That's supposed to be 12-foot flames or larger whenever there's a fire. Here's my property. Where that 12-foot flame length is a swimming pool, a garden, 2 plum trees. Doesn't look like it's gonna burn that high to me. So this is where we're gonna try and attack it, is to say they didn't go out and field check the property. They used a computer model of things to try and show what they wanted to show. And in the code it says, through the use of clear language, graphics, visuals, and examples, that the underlying criteria for assigning hazard zones are publicly available and comprehensive to a public audience. I worked with this stuff for over 45 years, and I had a hard time trying to make it fit into my brain. How is it going to happen to the average person? What I was thinking about is my mom. She was 94 when she passed. But if she got one of these letters and I wasn't around, how could she contend with this? She was lucky to work a flip phone right.
Right.
So what we look at here is another part of their problem, and I'm going to have somebody come up and speak about this in a minute. They say, well, all the data is there. All you got to do is go look at it, and they give you this reference to go look at the public data. And I downloaded it. It's an 8 gigabyte file.
Dang.
I said, okay, I'm used to doing this. Let's try it. As it says, you've got to open it with a GIS system. So I clicked on a file. And what came up is it says, how do you want to open this file? Link for the app, we'll check with the Microsoft Store. So they should have a program to make this thing work. Here's what popped up, no results found. You just gotta love it. So when I went back and read what they call the technical guide on how to do this, it referenced the computer program that they use. It's called ArcGIS Pro Trial. And I go, okay, let me open it. And I go, wait a minute. If you want to buy a subscription for 1 year, it's $700.
Oh.
but we got a deal for you. You can try it for 21 days for free. If you have a business or government address. So I look at this and I go, how is this in compliance with the way they wrote state law, that it's understandable and open to the public? And that's where we do it, is to cut them with their own knife.
Amen. Amen.
So here's what I tried to prepare, and we didn't expect this many people, because I printed out a sheet that says, here's some appeal points for you to file an appeal. How do you fill in the box? My wife had like 150 sheets that have this. So if anybody's got one, share it, take out your camera and take a picture. I'll talk with the county and see if they'll post it on their website. So here, the first appeal point. It's not clear language, using graphics, visuals, examples with the underlying criteria for assigning hazard zones. It's public, available, and comprehensible to a public audience. Here's another one. Data is not available to the public for inspection to verify any accuracy. When they came up with that 5-digit number, I go, how do I know that the computer didn't have a glitch that day and the addition was wrong? There is no way to verify anything. All the data is all theoretical, and it's not verified by actual conditions. When I talked to the people at Oregon State that put this together, professors, they teach graphic systems and forestry and all kinds of things. They said, well, we have run 200 different scenarios adjusting weather and topography to come up with these answers. So how do I access it? The data's there. All you gotta do is find it. It doesn't work. So that's what I'm saying. It is not public available for you to check anything. The values in this system are inflated. We've got a guy that's going to speak briefly on the values that they put in there, and they inflated all their numbers to make things look worse than they are.